You search for the best flight deal, pay your hard-earned money, and choose what you think is a decent seat, only to end up trapped for hours in a metal tube of misery. No legroom, a view of nothing, or a seat that seems permanently stuck in the upright and uncomfortable position. What if I told you that's not always an accident? What if I told you that your discomfort is sometimes part of a carefully designed business model? For years, airlines have become masters of nudging you. They use psychological tricks on their seat maps to make you feel anxious and ultimately pressure you to pay more for what should be basic comfort. As an airport insider, I've seen it all from behind the curtain. And today, we're pulling that curtain back. I'm about to expose the seat map strategies they use and the tricks you can use to counter them. Forget paying extra for a mediocre spot. By the end of this video, you'll have the best strategies to get more legroom, more comfort, and a genuinely better flight experience for free every single time you fly. The great seat map illusion. Before we get to the specific tricks, you have to understand the big illusion. The seat map you see when you book your flight, it isn't the whole story. Think of it less as a real-time snapshot of every available seat and more as a marketing tool. Airlines strategically hold back entire rows and many desirable seats for a few reasons. For their elite frequent flyers, for families who need to sit together, and to sell as pricey upgrades. Why does this matter to you? It creates a sense of scarcity. When you log in and see only a handful of dreaded middle seats left, your anxiety spikes. You think, I have to grab something now. And right on cue, you see those brightly colored preferred or extra legroom seats, conveniently available for a fee. They've highlighted a problem, the lack of good free seats, and then sold you the solution. It's a brilliant revenue stream built on digital nudges. But once you know the game, you can refuse to play. The secret isn't to pick the best of the worst seats months in advance. The secret is knowing when to act. Many of those blocked-off premium, exit row, and aisle seats that aren't taken by elite flyers often get released back into the general pool. The key window to check is usually within the 24 hours before departure. Once check-in is in full swing, this is when you strike. We'll cover that more in a bit. First, let's dismantle the most common traps. Secret number 1. The preferred seat ploy. Let's start with the most common upsell, the preferred seat. Airlines will paint these seats in a special color, making them look like a smart upgrade, and they'll charge you anywhere from $20 to over $100 for the privilege. But what are you actually getting? In many cases, you are simply paying for a standard economy seat with standard legroom. The only thing preferred about it is its location. It's a few rows closer to the front of the plane. That's it. You're not getting more space, a better cushion, or special service. You are paying a premium to deplane maybe 90 seconds earlier than someone in the middle of the cabin. Now, some airlines do bundle extra legroom into products like Delta's Comfort Plus or American's Main Cabin Extra, and those can be worth it. But a simple preferred seat often offers no tangible comfort benefit. They prey on the anxiety of seeing the back of the plane fill up, nudging you to pay for a location. The insider move? Ignore the basic preferred seats completely. When you see a map full of paid preferred seats and only middle seats in the back for free, don't panic and pay up. Either take the free middle seat for now and plan to switch later, or wait for that 24-hour check-in window. As other passengers get upgraded or change flights, many standard aisle and window seats in the non-preferred sections often open up for free. Secret number 2, the bulkhead boomerang. The bulkhead seat. The holy grail of legroom, right? That's what the seat map implies. It's that seat at the very front of the economy cabin with no one in front of you to recline into your lap. Airlines sometimes charge a premium for these seats, and travelers, desperate for space, pay it. But the bulkhead can be a classic bait and switch. What they don't tell you is that while you may have more knee room, you often have less actual leg room. Think about it. In a normal row, you can stretch your feet out under the seat in front of you. With a bulkhead, you're facing a solid wall. For taller passengers, this can feel even more restrictive, as it can prevent you from fully extending your legs. The downsides don't stop there. First, there is absolutely no underseat storage. Your backpack, your purse, everything has to go into the overhead bin during takeoff and landing. If you need your book, headphones, or laptop, you have to wait until the plane reaches cruising altitude. Second, your entertainment screen and tray table are usually tucked into the armrest. This means your armrests are fixed, solid, and immovable, making the seat itself feel narrower. The tray tables are often smaller and flimsier too. Finally, you're often right next to the galley or the lavatories. This can mean a near-constant stream of people, noise, and light. The one big exception? Bulkheads are often fantastic for parents traveling with infants, as this is where the baby bassinets are located. If you see a bassinet icon next to a bulkhead seat, be prepared for a potential baby neighbor. The insider move? Unless you are traveling with an infant or have confirmed on a site like Seat Guru that it's a great seat on that specific plane, you're often better off skipping the bulkhead. You could pay more for a seat that is narrower, has less functional space, and is in a high-traffic area. Quick reset, 2 traps down, preferred seats and bulkheads. Next, we'll dissect exit rows, the space you see, the comfort you don't, and exactly when they're worth it. Then we'll stack tactics to lock better seats for free. Secret number 3, the exit row illusion. If the bulkhead is the bait and switch, the exit row is the great illusion. You see exit row, and your brain screams, unlimited legroom. And yes, you do get a ton of space, but airlines have masterfully marketed this benefit while downplaying the significant drawbacks. First, let's talk about recline. This is the biggest hidden trap. For safety reasons, to keep the emergency path clear, the row of seats directly in front of an exit row is often designed not to recline at all. So you could pay extra for a better seat, only to find yourself forced into a perfectly vertical position for your flight. To make matters worse, many exit row seats themselves have limited or no recline, especially if there is a second exit row right behind them. Second, that extra space isn't just for you. It can become a public gathering spot. It's the unofficial stretching area for the cabin. People waiting for the lavatory might stand and stare at you. It's less like a premium seat and more like a seat in a public park. Third, like the bulkhead, exit row seats often have those immovable armrests that contain the tray tables, making the seat feel narrower. You also have the same issue with no floor storage during takeoff and landing. And don't forget, these are often the coldest seats on the plane, located right next to a poorly insulated door that can be drafty at 35,000 feet. Finally, you have the actual responsibility. By sitting there, you are agreeing to be an able-bodied person willing and able to assist in an emergency. It's a responsibility to take seriously. The insider move? Before you even consider an exit row, use a third-party tool like Seat Guru. It will give you detailed user reviews and a color-coded map showing which seats have limited recline or other issues. If you do opt for an exit row, choose one on an aircraft where you can verify it reclines, and be prepared for the cold and the company. Secret number 4, the empty middle seat gambit. This next secret isn't about avoiding a trap, but about actively creating your own perfect situation. The ultimate luxury in economy class isn't an extra inch of legroom, it's an empty middle seat, a private row for the price of one ticket. With a little strategic thinking, you can dramatically increase your chances of scoring this. This strategy works best for couples or pairs traveling together. When you book your flight, do not book 2 seats right next to each other. Instead, on a 3-seat row, book the aisle and the window seat, leaving the middle seat open. Think about it from another traveler's perspective. When someone is choosing their seat online, they'll see that the only way to sit in your row is to take the dreaded middle seat between 2 strangers. No one wants that. A solo traveler is far more likely to pick an open aisle or window seat elsewhere. The middle seats are almost always the last to be filled. For this to work best, choose a row toward the back of the plane. Most people prefer to sit near the front, so the back rows fill up last, increasing the odds your middle seat will remain empty. What's the worst-case scenario? The flight is completely full, and someone gets assigned that middle seat. In that case, you simply turn to that person and say, "Hey, would you prefer the aisle or the window?" No one has ever refused this offer. They are thrilled to get out of the middle, and you and your travel partner get to sit together anyway. It's a no-lose situation. You either get a private row to yourselves or you make someone's day. Secret number 5, The upgrade lottery lie. For decades, the myth of the free upgrade has persisted. Dress nicely, be polite, ask with a smile, and maybe, just maybe, a gate agent will send you to business class. I'm here to tell you that in 2026, that myth is, well, mostly dead. Airlines no longer leave these decisions to chance. Upgrades are now overwhelmingly controlled by complex prioritization systems. These algorithms crunch data in real time: your frequent flyer status, the fare class of your ticket, your check-in time, and even which airline credit card you have. Your friendly smile, while appreciated, is rarely a factor in the algorithm. So, how do you win a game that's rigged by a computer? You learn the rules the computer plays by. First, your frequent flyer status is still king. Even the lowest tier of status will put you ahead of every single non-status passenger on the upgrade list. And getting status doesn't always mean flying constantly. Some airline-branded credit cards now allow your everyday spending to count towards elite qualifying metrics. Second, if you don't have status, you can sometimes borrow it. Flying on the same reservation as someone with elite status can make you eligible for a companion upgrade. Third, a strategy to watch is upgrade bidding. Some carriers have systems where you can bid cash or miles for an upgrade. The secret here is to research the typical successful bid amounts for your specific route. You can sometimes snag a premium seat for a good price, but be realistic about your expectations. Finally, if your seat is genuinely broken, it won't recline, has a broken seatbelt, or a malfunctioning screen, this is your one true wild card. With flights being so full these days, their only option to move you might be to a premium cabin. Politely and discreetly inform a flight attendant. Remember the golden rule: be the kindest, most patient person they've spoken to all day. Demands get you nowhere. A polite request for a working seat just might be. Final action plan and wrap up. Alright, that was a lot of information, but here is how you turn it into your unbreakable flight booking strategy. Step 1. The pre-booking recon. Before you even enter your credit card details, become a flight detective. Use tools like Seat Guru or Airline. Type in your airline and flight number to study the seat map, the one with real user reviews. You'll instantly see which seats have limited recline, which are missing a window, and which are too close to the noisy galley. Step 2. The strategic booking. If you're flying with a partner, execute the empty middle seat gambit by booking an aisle and window seat toward the back. If you're flying solo, book a free aisle or window seat if one is available, but do not pay for a basic preferred seat. If only middle seats are free, grab one for now. Your real seat is coming later. Step 3. The 24-hour power move. This is where the real action begins. Set an alarm for exactly 24 hours before your flight. The second that check-in opens, get on the Airlines app. This is when systems often begin to release some of the better seats that were previously blocked. Refresh the seat map. You'll often see prime aisle and window seats appear for free. Keep checking the map periodically right up until you leave for the airport. Step 4. The at-airport ask. If you still haven't found your perfect seat, your last chance is at the gate. But don't just ask for an upgrade. Approach the gate agent when they aren't swamped. Be polite and use an insider-type phrase. I was just wondering if any complimentary upgrades have cleared for loyalty members yet. This signals that you understand the process. It's a long shot, but it positions you as a knowledgeable and courteous passenger, the exact type of person they're more willing to help if an opportunity arises. You are now armed with the knowledge the airlines hope you don't have. You know their seat maps can be an illusion, that preferred is often just a marketing term, and that the best seats are often the ones you don't pay for. You can now navigate the system, avoid the traps, and reclaim the comfort you deserve. Flying in economy doesn't have to be a miserable experience. By being smarter than the system, you can make every flight a better flight. Quick recap. Know the map is marketing, skip basic preferred seats, verify bulkheads, double-check exit row recline, and time your seat change at check-in. Your turn. Apply the 24-hour check, use Seat Guru or Airline, and game the map to reclaim comfort. Fly smarter on every trip.